pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please conduct the roll call?
President Kushmarek.
Present.
Councilor Bean.
Present.
Councilor Boschman.
Happy to be here.
Councilor Beazall. Councilor Clark.
Here.
Councilor Di Natale.
Here.
Councilor Donnelly.
Here.
Councilor Green.
Present.
Councilor Joseph.
Here.
Councilor Caddy.
Here.
Councilor Tran.
Here.
Public forum. Anyone wishing to speak on any matter on the agenda may do so for not more than 2 minutes. If you're addressing public hearing petitions, you'll have an opportunity to speak at that time. Please approach the center table. Identify yourself by name and address for the record, and the item number on the agenda to which you are speaking. Does anyone wish to speak at this time?
Hi,
Good evening.
my name is Erica Corley. I live on Ashby State Road. Not really sure. I don't have anything to do with the agenda. However,
Can you please repeat your last name?
Corley, Corley. My attempts to reach anyone over at City Hall or get a call back from Stephen Hay have gone unreturned, so I didn't know where else to go, so I'm here. I live on Ashby State Road. They're doing construction by my house. I was woken up at 5 a.m. because they got special permission to be there. I found out by the police department that the last 2 nights they were going to be there from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. My question is, why wasn't I notified? And I haven't been able to get that answer from anywhere else. So I don't know where else to go. This is City Council, and I live here. I pay taxes for the home I own, so I feel like I have the right to discuss this.
Ma'am, if you could, we can only address items appearing on the agenda. I'm happy if you wouldn't mind writing down your name and address. I'll make sure that your city councilor gets in touch with you first thing tomorrow.
I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. Turning back to the public forum, is anyone else wishing to speak on any matter on the agenda? We have Mr. Jokala joining us momentarily. And your cell phone number, too, if you could. We'll make sure someone's in touch first thing tomorrow. Thank you very much. Good evening. Mr. Jokala.
Okay, good evening, councilors. I'm here tonight to speak to a communication that was sent to you that is on tonight's agenda. Actually, that communication should be, should be converted to a petition. I've spoken to the city solicitor and city clerk about that. Actually, I'm coming here tonight with good news. Over the past several months, we've been exploring solar opportunities. 2 of our schools are ideal sites to place solar panels on them. We're looking to enter into a 20-year purchase power agreement and lease with the developer, Select Energy. This is under a program approved by the Commonwealth of Mass through Power Options, who has vetted the lease and purchase power agreement for their members, of which we are. The city of Fitchburg has been purchasing through Power Options for its natural gas and electricity supply for years. This is a very attractive opportunity for the school district to save money. We're looking at saving $90,000 in the first full year of operations. Over the course of 20 years, looking at about $2.7 million and an average of about $130,000 a year. The savings will gradually increase over time. It's kind of like a mortgage. When you first take out a mortgage, you're not paying much principal, but as time goes on, you pay more principal. So the savings actually increase over time. And we're looking at the rate that we'll be paying on the power generated by these solar panels decreasing from about 20 cents for an all-in cost between supply and distribution to paying Select 6.9 cents. So it's 13.1 cents per kilowatt savings. So it's compelling savings for us. This helps us redirect funds towards services directly benefiting students, and we look forward to your support.
Are you requesting the latter?
Are you requesting?
Yes, actually, so sorry about that. So tonight I'm asking for suspension of the rules, primarily because 2 reasons. The construction season is vastly disappearing from us, and also there are some incentives to have these panels operational on our roofs by January 2017, which makes the economic benefits more attractive.
Councilor Joseph, procedural question.
Does this have to go to finance, or are we doing a suspension? Would we be doing a suspension of the rules to give it a petition name, number, an unnumbered petition, and then we would be doing suspension of the rules to pass this without, because I know you and I have had discussion. I don't know how many other councilors have had discussion and feel comfortable with it. I feel very comfortable with it, but I just don't know if this is going to go to another committee or if this is going to go through.
So I believe you're requesting for this to go through tonight for a firm vote so that construction can proceed immediately. Because the language submitted was consistent with that of a petition, and because it was included for public notice, we're allowed to move forward with it as a petition. We've confirmed that with both the city clerk as well as city solicitor, and there is precedence for doing this in the past. So the item number will be given shortly thereafter. After tonight's meeting, a number will be applied to it. The number doesn't make it a petition. The language itself does. Correct.
Finance issue, may I address that finance question as well? Just on the finance question, we are constantly appropriating money for the schools to supply themselves with energy needs, whether it's electricity or, and we took a look at this as to whether or not this is really an appropriation, because we are going to be paying a different person other than Unitil for the power. We actually don't see this as an appropriation because you'll be doing your general appropriations in your budget year after year. So in that sense, we're not seeing this necessary for a further vetting through the finance subcommittee process. Most importantly, the gentleman in the back of the room is Matt Shortsleeve. Matt Shortsleeve represents, is it Select, that he's representing, and has worked with us, not only ourselves, but with our own expert, to further fine-tune an already vetted agreement that's been vetted through the process of the Commonwealth. I think it's fair to say, and I'm sure Mr. Shortsleeve would agree with me, that we have beat this with a stick several times because it was new, because we needed an expert, because Mr. Jokla's department, as the department head, was substantially involved before he even got it to the point where we were considering to have it signed. The 13 cents per kilowatt savings is something that's very attractive, and I know that Mr. Jokla's conversations with me has been to move this forward immediately. If the construction is not completed by January 1st, is there?
I think you need to call off the rest of the discussion till we have a petition to discuss.
Yes. At this point, do I have a
Motion for suspension of the rules for the unnumbered petition.
I have a motion and second to suspend the rules for what would appear to be a petition to authorize the mayor to execute a purchase power agreement and lease agreement for 20 years with Select Energy as described in the enclosed communication. Speaking to the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It is before you.
Motion to. Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the unnumbered petition. Councilors? Councilor Boschman?
Can I ask him a question?
You may.
I know you and I talked today because you called me and I called you back, or you called me. And I told you how I felt about the PPA. Now, I got one question, and I'm not trying to be a wise guy to anybody. We got a thing in front of the council tonight. We got to take a third and final reading. And it's Article 245-16. It's called the Stretch Energy Code. And the way I understood and the way it was presented to this council, that if the city of Pittsburgh saves energy, we get more money. Am I right, Mr. City Solicitor?
Mr. Turigny really has been our expert, our contact person on that issue, so I would defer to him.
Unfortunately, not in the room.
All right. Well,
I might be able to answer the question maybe where you're going. The Green Communities Act, which I think is the impetus for this later action, and this are separate. Although this will reduce, I'll say, the cost of electricity for the schools.
Right.
the way the Green Communities Act law determines usage, it's based on kilowatt usage. So by having these solar panels on our roofs does not necessarily decrease usage. So those panels are not part of this Green Communities initiative of the city.
Well, I was under the impression that it was because you're not taking it from the grid. You're using the natural environment of the sun. And the way I understood this, the green thing, that as long as we reduce the energy consumption, either by gas, electricity, and everything else, that we would fall into it. And I was just going to say, well, maybe we're supposed to get probably $300,000, and I don't know what the panels are going to cost. You said maybe $2 million, $3 million. I forget exactly what you said, but I keep on emphasizing, for what I have read, and everything I have read, since we have a lot of problems meeting our budget with the schools, so I'm told sometime, and we have to cut back on different kind of programs. We can make money with this. Not only the company making money, but the city of Pittsburgh and your school, when I say you, the school of Pittsburgh, can make money if we went out and we purchase. And if we're going to get this underneath the stretch, why not take advantage of it? We didn't have the money in the first place. Why not buy the panel? Because everything I have read, and I didn't read it on because of him, I read it because I thought about putting it on my own residential.
If we may,
AJ's back.
Mr. Turigny, could you please address Councilor Boishman's question here as to how this petition regarding the purchase power agreement and lease agreement with Select Energy is different or coincides with the Stretch Energy code?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Good evening, councilors. For the record, my name is AJ Turigny. I'm Chief of Staff to the Mayor, and I've been working closely with Mr. Jokla with the Green Communities. Councilor Boishman, the Stretch Code doesn't relate to the solar power. The Stretch Code is in relationship to the building code that it currently exists, and it's requiring residential properties to go the extra mile in terms of making a home more energy efficient.
But I was under the impression that when you sat, not you, but the party sat there, that they said that if a city
As part of
20%.
as part of the Green Communities Act, there are 5 criteria we have to meet. One of those criteria is specifically the Stretch Code, and that is it. The other one that you're referencing is the city will be adopting a solar ordinance, as we don't currently have one. And through the efforts of MRPC, our friends over there, they're helping create a solar ordinance that will allow us to that will allow solar arrays to come into the city, and as we don't currently have that ordinance. So it's helping create a more efficient, energy efficient for the community. The energy reduction plan that you're referring to is that the city had audits done in our school departments, in our municipal buildings, with the help of Unitil through TNT and RISE auditing groups. And they went through and looked at our mechanics, which are our boiler systems, windows, weather ceilings, and lighting within our municipal buildings. They formed an energy reduction plan that is that 20% that you're looking at, and they create a way that we can target that 20% and get to that 20% by a 5-year time period.
All right. It's just that it's going to be a shame that we throw away this money to an outside vendor. And no offense to you, Bob. I know you've worked very, very hard, but it's just how I feel about what I read. And in 5 years to be paid for, 6 years.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe to be clear, though, I think, and from the meetings that I've sat on, the Green Communities with Mr. Turigny, the solar project is not eligible because they're looking at the usage across the city in terms of kilowatts. So even though we're getting the energy from I'll say, an alternative source or a green source, if you will, we're still using that same base number of kilowatts. We're just buying it from somebody. We're buying the power from somebody else. So whether it's Select or Unitil or some other third party, our usage is still the same. We're just paying less for it.
All right.
Councilor Green.
I'm a huge supporter of alternative energy. We have solar at the house. I'm looking at solar at my commercial building as well. So I wish that this would become part of our best practices, that on all of our municipal buildings, that we should have alternative sources in place for that. And just to speak to Councilor Boschman, how it works is that the new energy company, this Select Energy company, would replace Unitil. And in doing so, they're able to lower the kilowatt cost down to 6.9% versus Unitil on a commercial building at almost 21 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's a huge savings. We're using the same amount of electricity, we'll say, but we're paying a cheaper rate for it.
I understand. I know how the program works, Amy. I understand that wholeheartedly, and I understand that. But he's still going to have to buy power from Unitil, because if it doesn't generate enough electricity, we have a whole week of snow, it's not producing. So you're still going to have to get Unitil to buy. They're still going to have to deal with Unitil, no matter how we look at it. Just like your building or any other building in the city of Pittsburgh, unless you have a battery backup and it runs off a battery and you're self-sufficient with a generator. Then you can get away from the gridiron and do your own thing. But I'm not here to argue, and I'm not here to give you a hard time. I just started with, I like the idea of owning versus leasing. That's me.
Councilor Green, you still have the floor.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Amy.
That's okay. So I will support this 110%, not only at schools, but all municipal buildings, and I hope that other schools, if they're located just right, or if, we can tilt the panels a little bit, that we make this part of our best operating procedure.
And again,
Thank you.
just for clarification, these two schools have two of the newest roofs. That's why they were ideal candidates. And
Does Select Energy, do they have or through Mr. Shortsleeves, do they have the ability that if roofs needs to be repaired or fixed or supported, that they work with you to do that?
yes.
Ooh, even better. Thank you.
Councilor Gianatelli. Councilor Joseph.
Just another note to Councilor Boschman. Mr. Jokler explained to me that one of the main benefits of being the owner as opposed to the user afterwards is the energy credits. And because we're a municipality, we wouldn't be qualified to get the energy credits. So that just makes it, that's my biggest thing about renting solar or buying solar, is those energy credits. They'll still get the energy credits, but the city is not eligible to get energy credits.
All right.
And I guess maybe just lastly too, if the city did purchase the panels, we would either have to draw down free cash to pay for them or borrow, and the borrowing would go against the overall city's capital plan. So this is a much more common way that municipalities go with solar.
I have a motion and second to authorize the mayor to execute a purchase power agreement and lease agreement for 20 years with Select Energy as described in the enclosed communication. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. The motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Bob.
Councilor. Thank you.
Turning to public forum, is there anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Hearing none, if there are no objections, we'll now move to an oral report from the Appointments Committee. Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Appointments Committee met earlier this evening. There were 5 appointments, the first being in the Energy Commission, term to expire April 1st, 2019, Mr. Keith L. Pendergrass, 42 Dudley Street. The rest of the appointees for the Fitchburg Cultural Council, term to expire September 2nd, 2019, Mrs. Nancy Karras, Will Thompson Way. Mr. James B. Cragen, term to expire September 2nd, 2019, Apple Tree Hill in Fitchburg. Mr. Jeff Wormuth, term to expire September 2nd, 2019, Chicopee Road in Groton. And finally, term to expire September 2nd, 2019, Mr. Joseph S. Bowen, 53 Fairview Street, Fitchburg. All unanimous choices.
Will the committee's report be accepted?
I have a motion and second to accept the committee's report. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Yes, that's what I'm doing. I'd like to recognize at this point Keith L. Pendergrass, Nancy Karras, James B. Cragen, Jeff Wormuth, and Joseph Bowen, who are all here in attendance. Thank you for staying with us through this long evening. Thank you for your service to this city in the years to follow. Returning to the agenda, a report from the Committee on Records, Councillor Donnelly. Councillor Donnelly, could you please provide a report from the Committee on Records?
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. We've reviewed the records, and they appear to be in order.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and second to accept the report from the Committee on Records. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. The motion carries. Communications and reports from heads of department. We have two communications that remain, both from Calvin Brooks, City Treasurer, one regarding 130 Academy Street property auction, and the second regarding 45 Pierce Ave property auction.
Motion to put the communications on file in the clerk's office.
Second.
I have a motion and second to place the communications on file at the City Clerk's office. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. City Property Committee, Councillor Joseph.
City Property Committee met this evening at 10 after 7. We had two items on the agenda. 237-16, Calvin Brooks to receive votes taken to sell listed tax possession properties. That was voted 4-0 to approve. And a communications from Mary Delaney, our Chief Procurement Officer, to refer to the Property Committee a qualified bid for a parcel of land located on Main Street, identified in the Assessor's Map 56, Block 28, Lot A, as outlined in the enclosed petition. That communication was also passed 4-0.
Move the committee's report be accepted.
Second.
I have a motion and second to accept the City Property Committee report. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. Finance Committee, Councillor Di Natale.
Thank you. Finance met on October 11th. 195-16 was given leave to withdraw. That was the city solicitor's request to approve the fee schedule regarding requiring third parties to pay the city of Fitchburg legal fees for services actually performed, to allow the city solicitor and assistant city solicitor to enter into such agreements. 226-16, the city of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from the Federal Emergency Management Agency administered through MEMA for the Community Emergency Response Team in the approximate amount of $4,676 for the purposes of said grant. That was adopted. 227-16 was an expenditure of funds from the Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation for the Recreational Trails Program grant in the amount of $49,995. That was adopted. 228-16 was a acceptance of a grant for the Complete Streets Program, Prioritization Tier 2, in the approximate amount of $49,989, and that was adopted. 240-16, there hereby is appropriated the sum of $25,000 to be credited to Treasurer Parking Garage Capital Expenses and charged against parking meter garage receipts. That was adopted. And 242-16, appropriating $113,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to accounts as follows: $85,000 to fire capital departmental equipment and $28,000 to fire capital building improvements. That was adopted.
Motion to accept the Finance Committee report.
Second.
I have a motion and second to accept the Finance Committee report. Speaking to the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. The motion carries.
Move 247-16, 248-16, and 250-16 be sent to Finance.
Second.
I have a motion and second to send 247, 248, and 250-16 to Finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion for suspension on 249-16.
Second motion.
I have a motion and second to suspend the rules on 249-16. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is before.
Move the order be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adopt 249-16. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Move 251-16 be suspended.
Second.
I have a motion and second to suspend the rules on 251-16. Order authorizing the city clerk to notify voters of the state election on Tuesday, November 8th, 2016. Speaking to the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous.
Move to approve.
have a motion and second to approve 251-16. Speaking to the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It is unanimous. Ordinance 245-16, an ordinance to enact Chapter 72, Article 3, Section 6-9 of the City of Fitchburg Ordinance entitled Stretch Energy Code for the purpose of regulating the design and construction of buildings for the effective use of energy pursuant to Appendix 115.AA of the Massachusetts Building Code 780 CMR, the Stretch Energy Code, including future additions, amendments, or modifications thereto, with an effective date of January 2nd, 2017, as outlined in the enclosed ordinance. Reference petition 219-16, final reading.
Motion 245-16 be sent to its final reading, ordained, enrolled, and advertised.
Second.
I have a motion and second to send 245-16 to its final reading, enrolled, ordained, and advertised. Speaking to the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. The motion carries.
Motion to send 252-16 and 253-16, 254-16 and 255-16, 256-16 to a public hearing on November 1st.
Second.
Mr. President, I'd like to pull this for a minute, please, on 252, 53, 55, and 56, please.
Okay. All right. So I have the councilor's making the motion amenable to the council's request.
Sure.
Okay. So, Councilor Boschman, can you repeat those numbers that you want removed from that?
252, 253, 255, and 256.
All right. So I have a motion to send 254-16 to a public hearing on November 1st.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Move 252, 253, 255, and 256 be sent to their public hearing on November 1st.
Second.
Mr. President,
Speaking to the motion,
Mr.
Councilor
President, I'm
Boschman.
speaking to the motion. As we sit right here today, as of right now, we had 2 poles that wanted to come into our city. We have no rules on the books for these cell towers. And I'm asking, before we start doing this, and before we let them come all in, let's set some guidelines here, what we want as a city. This is what I'm asking, and I'm not asking for a lot.
Councilor, this would be the opportunity, certainly give you the opportunity to address this. Yes, you're right. In theory, we should be addressing these. We should be setting some legislation or some rules or guidelines first. But the fact remains that these folks have submitted petitions to appear before us. We need to honor their requests, move these forward through the legislative process. Your point is well taken. I would advise that you speak with the mayor about trying to put some guidelines in place, or introducing certainly something to the council to put something in place. But we have an obligation to move these forward through the legislative process.
Mr. President, what I've been reading about this stuff, different communities are doing the exact same thing that we want to do.
Councilor, we have an obligation to hold these hearings. You can certainly make any motion. We can hold these should the council so decide. But we need to do something with these.
Then I ask, Mr. President, I ask the city solicitor to give us a ruling today.
Move the question, Mr. President.
I have a motion and second on the floor to send 252, 3, 5, and 6, 15.
Speaking on the motion for just a second.
Speaking on the motion, Councilor.
This is going to a public hearing. We're going to have discussion at that time, give you 2 weeks to discuss with the mayor if you wish, your concerns, and we don't have to take any action on November 1st, but this is just to send it to a public hearing. We're not passing anything tonight.
I have a motion and second on the floor. Speaking to the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
257-16.
Motion to send 257 and 258-16 to respective committees.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second to send 257 and 258-16 to their respective committees. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Is unanimous.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adjourn. Speaking to the motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, councilors.